name is Meekela, this is Meekela Reads. I live here. Welcome back to another filler episode where the content is not relevant for the plot but is relevant for the character. I feel like it was only like a week ago that I did my autumn TBR, and here we are, it's been nearly 3 months later. Did I read anything that I meant to? I don't know. I don't know if I read anything I was supposed to. Let's start with a rapid fire round of did I actually read the books I meant to read in autumn? Chain of Thorns, yes. Jade City, no. 1,000 Splendid Suns, yes. Priory of the Orange Tree, kind of. Eclipse, kind of, not really. Before Your Memory Fades, yes. If I Never Met You, yes. Torch Against the Night, no. Vampire Academies 5 and 6, no. Starsight, no. And finally, various cozy fantasy books that I had not specified but did in fact read mostly. I did a vlog, check it out if you are interested in my thoughts. So like, I think we did okay in autumn. I don't think it was bad. And I knew when I made it that I wasn't going to read all of it. It was more of a guide. They are not rules. There are no rules here. So let me tell you about my guideline for the next season of winter. Another disclaimer is that I have been recently in one of the biggest reading slumps that I have been in years. And so in the interest of being kind to myself, I have curated this very specific list for the reason of not overwhelming myself, but also helping to categorize the books that I have not read yet. We'll start with the carryovers from last season because there are some. I have not carried over all of them, just some of them. First up is Jade City by Fonda Lee. This is a fantasy book. It is based in a world where jade can be consumed. It gives you supernatural powers, and then the way that that obviously unfolds within a society that values jade over many things. This is making the rounds again on the internet more recently. It's back on the list. I do plan to get to it. I have the audiobook ready to go. I just need to finish Priory of the Orange Tree first because I cannot have too many fantasies rolling around in my head at once, and Priory of the Orange Tree is too much fantasy for my brain as it is, let alone adding another one in there. Speaking of, I will finish this within this season. I'm holding you personally accountable for shaming me if I do not finish this within the season, and also as a proxy, shaming Kirsty. I'm sorry, we are reading this together. I need to finish this within an allotted amount of time. Priory of the Orange Tree, high fantasy, there's dragons, there's politics, there is sapphic romance. I'm 170, 80 pages in. I'm enjoying it, it's just confusing. There's a lot going on and I don't know who is who. Next, Starsight by Brendan Sanderson. I've said it once, I've said it again, I'm in my sci-fi era. It's winter, now is the time. There is something about winter that just screams sci-fi and fantasy. This is perfect, it is the right time, I'm ready. I loved the first one. I enjoyed this one when I started reading it. I just keep getting distracted by other things. And the last carryover, Eclipse by Stephanie Meyer. Coming soon. Okay, let's talk about the few books. I've only picked a few. There is only a few that I'm adding to the list to read in winter. Disclaimer, this is just to give me variety. This is just to give me some structure. I need structure in my reading, otherwise I get too overwhelmed because I keep buying books. I have more now than what I had at the start of the year because I have not stuck to my one in, one out policy, nor have I abided by my book buying ban. And due to the aforementioned reading slump, I have curated a very specific list of books that are a nice balance of shorter books, books that are going to keep me invested, books that I'm excited about, but also books I've read before and I know that I love and that I'm hoping just rekindle my love for reading once again. Because again, reading slump, this is how you fix them. You read stuff that you know, you read stuff that is easy to read. So first up, The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. Yet another sci-fi. Did I mention I was in my sci-fi era? I'm in my sci-fi era. Becky Chambers wrote what is now one of my favorite series of all time, A Psalm for the Wild-Built and A Prayer for the Crown Shy, and I have already read this one before and I loved it when I read it, and I'm hoping I love it as much the second time around. This is a sci-fi soap opera type book. It follows Rosemary. She joins a crew of like ragtag people aboard the ship The Wayfarer. She discovers the meaning of found family and starts to learn to confront some of the things in her past as she and the other members on board the ship hop through the stars on various adventures that are equal parts dangerous but also exciting and thrilling and have great rewards if they complete them. My goal is to actually read the other 3 books in the series as well. I never finished reading them when I first read this one because the second book doesn't follow the same characters, and I was so attached to the characters in the first book that I was angry at the second book for not having the characters I wanted. So I DNF'd it and then I didn't pick it up again. But I've grown as a reader since then, and so I'm hoping that I will enjoy them more this time around and actually like appreciate the various characters and growth and development. Am I gonna add them to this TBR? We'll see. We're just gonna roll with the dopamine. We'll see where it takes us. A Closing Comet Orbit is a soft add to this list. Next. The Bookbinder of Jericho by Pip Williams. This is the next book that my book club with my work friends and I are reading. This is the story of twins Peggy and Maud, and it is set in 1914. Peggy and Maud work in the Oxford University Bookbinding Press. However, the town is shaken and disrupted when everyone obviously heads off to war. All the men go off to war. The women are left to do the work in society to keep things running. Jericho gets an influx of refugees from Belgium. Peggy has ambition. She has goals. She wants to read. She wants to learn. She has grand plans. However, her twin Maud is a little bit more reserved, is happy where she is, and Peggy believes that she needs to stay and take care of Maud for their life to run as it is meant to. Pip Williams wrote the Dictionary of Lost Words, and I believe this might be a companion, but I haven't actually read the Dictionary of Lost Words. But I'm understanding this well enough. I'm listening to it at the moment. I'm maybe a fifth of the way through. We're having a grand old time. Next, The Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I picked this up recently and know almost exactly nothing about it. All I know is that it involves dragons and it is circulating the internet like nothing else. I don't know if this is a marketing thing or if it is genuinely that good, but I heard that it was a fantasy that involves dragons, so I was in. I believe our main character, Violet, is forced into learning how to fly dragons or being a part of the dragon riders by her mother, but it's a very dangerous and risky and competitive section of the place to be in. I will have to give this one a hot minute due to aforementioned fantasy overload in my brain, but I'm throwing this in there because it's having its moment and I'm jumping on the hype bandwagon that everyone else appears to be on. I've heard so many good things about it. People I really trust have loved it. I am hoping to get to this within the season. And again, fantasy, winter, it's the perfect time. And then Weasels in the Attic by Hiroko Oyamada. I'm really leaning into the easy reading by adding a 96-page book into this list. This is a Japanese translated fiction, which I was sold on. I did not need to hear anything else before I picked this up. This follows 3 separate short stories of people that are interconnected in some way, but my understanding is that the stories are different and explore different realms of human relationship with each other within different stages of their life. There is something specific about Japanese translated fiction that really gets me questioning the human experience, which is something that is top tier, gold standard in terms of books for me. So I'm very excited to get to this one. And I think it's going to give me a nice little boost of motivation to continue on with reading. Again, reading slump, this is the solution. And then Ava Evergreen, Semi-Magical Witch by Julie Abe. To balance out all of the highness of the fantasy that I've mentioned, I figured adding in a nice little middle grade would be refreshing and different and a nice balance for the TBR. Ava Evergreen I've spoken about before, but it is a middle grade, obviously, that follows Ava Evergreen, again, obviously, who is hoping to become a fully fledged novice witch before her 13th birthday. Otherwise, she loses her powers. However, she is really struggling to control her powers in this time, and I presume we follow all of the hijinks and shenanigans that come along with that. I'm expecting cozy, whimsical, and just a nice easy read. Again, interest of being kind to myself, we're balancing a relatively cozy fantasy, hopefully, that I can fly through. No pun intended. And finally, am I going to allow myself to indulge in my yearly A Court of Thorns and Roses re-listen? Probably. I am going to leave it there because I think that that is 10 books, and I think that that's plenty for me at this point in time, particularly given the length of some of these 10 books. I do have a few others in the list that I haven't spoken about because they are very specific for specific video ideas, but it may or may not happen. I'm hoping that those videos get to happen, although again, being winter and in the southern hemisphere, the sun's been setting at 4:30 in the afternoon, so it may or may not happen. You might just have 3 months of me being a grumpy goblin in the dark, but keep an eye out for some very specific themed reading videos that are coming out. I'm pretty excited for them, so I'm hoping that they're going to happen, but again, being kind to myself, this is the TBR. We'll see how we go. Winter is a time I usually fall into reading a bit more because, I don't know, it's just nice to curl up with a really nice warm drink and a blanket and a fake fireplace on the television and read. There's just something really nice about it. Anywho, what are you reading in winter/summer? Are any of these in your list? Let me know. But Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're having a fantastic day or night or whatever time it is where you are in the world, and I will see you next week. Goodbye.